Hello and welcome to live post-match reaction to the Chiefs versus the Lions, and it finished 17-23 with the Lions winning. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, your best place for predictions and opinion. And yes, that was a bit of a surprise, really. Let's be honest. Where has that performance been from the Lions over the last couple of weeks? They came a couple of late changes to the lineups with Marks and Nelson Yankees coming in. Initially they'd been named on the bench. Don't know if that was just some playing games or whether there was actually real reasons behind that. But either way, it definitely worked. Yankees playing at 12 for a change rather than 10. A very un-South African kind of setup with the two playmakers with Lombard at 10, and that worked really well because the two of them could switch round. Yankees clearly the senior partner doing a lot of the communication, but also from set piece. I mean, they could also go both ways as well. So that worked really well for the Lions tonight. I say very un-South African, normally playing that hard ball carrying 12, but not tonight. And the Lions came out and they set their stall out early as to how they were going to play. They were going to play with possession. And they were going to suck it out of and deny the Chiefs the ball. So their exit play was to play it out, and we saw that in that first half with 67% possession and 64% territory for the Lions. It really worked for them there. The Chiefs did have their opportunities. We had a good intercept and break from Polwart. There were a couple of other breaks also by the Chiefs early on. After a scrum penalty straight out in front, the Lions took a 3-0 lead, and the scrum time was somewhere where the Lions were going to dominate for pretty much the whole game, and they were going to pick up plenty of penalties from that. And if we look at the Chiefs' discipline stats, 12 of Matu gave up 4 penalties in that game, all of them pretty much at scrum time. So that was a big source of territory and also points for the Lions in this game. I say the Chiefs had their opportunities, had a couple of breaks, etc. after that, and at one point decided to go for the corner rather than taking 3 when they were only 3-0 down. That was perhaps a mistake because they went there, and then they failed to convert from the line-out maul. So the Lions were getting ascendancy at scrum time at 28 minutes, another scrum penalty, this time 40-odd metres out, or just over 40-odd metres out, but it was straight in front again, and Yankees struck that over to 6-0. Yankees had a very good evening with the boot, in contrast to Marty McKenzie. Not that it would have made any difference in the end, because but even so, it would have put a lot more pressure on in those dying minutes. And it looked like we were going to have a pretty low-scoring first half with basically the Lions dominating but not being able to break down the Chiefs, and Chiefs defending well until 35 minutes out, line-out maul got disrupted but illegally, and then several phases later the Lions bashed over to make it 13-0. And suddenly, on half-time, the Chiefs are trying to push the ball. It gets intercepted. Several phases later, we see Whiteley out on the left, grubbers a ball through, and Dante scores, and it's 20-0 at half time. Not helped in that situation when Debrasini was down injured. So obviously a player missing in the backfield who probably would have been sweeping for that grubber through, but these things happen, and suddenly it was 20-0. News on the TV at least was that even though that Debrasini went off on on a stretcher, and there was no serious injuries, so that's very good to hear. So 20-0 at half time. You're thinking, right, the Chiefs really need to kick on early in the second half, and that doesn't happen. The Lions dominate the early exchanges there as well, but too many errors means that they don't actually manage to get any points, and the Chiefs eventually start to get some ascendancy. And ironically, from scrum time, where they've been under the cosh the whole time, Webber spots his opposite number, loops round, leaving the blind side open. He shoots down the blind side, gets Elton Yankees playing in that sort of in a fullback role, tackles him. The ball gets spun out wide to the opposite side, and Sean Wainui scores in the corner. I did feel that there were a couple of opportunities there where Anton Brown and Sean Stevenson trying to do too much themselves, to just let the ball move. We saw that it felt in that stage where the players were really getting a bit more desperate, perhaps pushing things a bit further. But hey, it paid off with that try. And at the restart, again, players making the break, having a man on the shoulder, maybe should have released him, but go a bit further and get tackled. But still, they managed to bash over and score a second try 3 minutes later. Suddenly, the Chiefs, a lot more energy, a lot more power, breaking the line, making yards. And suddenly it's 10-20 with 2 missed conversions from Marty McKenzie. The Lions then got some possession and chewed up a big chunk of time. And you think, okay, yep, it looks like they have chewed up enough, and they've got this game closed out. Only for Marty McKenzie to put a kick through, and again, the Chiefs to hustle more than the Lions. It was a 50-50 ball. The Chiefs got his foot to it better, which kicks it forward, which meant he could collect it. He got tackled and popped it up for the winger to score. Suddenly, it's 17-20. If with those 4 points that had been missed on those conversions hadn't been missed, it would have been 21-20, and then it would have been really interesting as to how the last few minutes would have gone. As it was, the Chiefs got the ball but got turned over. The Lions sucked up a lot of the time, and then under advantage, they went for a drop goal. But when you go for a drop goal in that situation, you miss deliberately, because then you get the penalty and you can chew up the last sort of 30-40 seconds as you kick the penalty over. Instead, we have Elton Yankees putting over a drop goal with time for a restart, meaning they had a 6-point lead rather than a 3-point lead, which meant that basically the Chiefs had the opportunity, if they could claim the restart, to go down the other end and score. As it was, they failed to do that. I think they got the ball turned over, but it got turned over again, and the Lions saw out the game. But yeah, some questionable decision making there under under that situation, because, as I say, they gave the Chiefs the opportunity to win that game. Christopher says this South Africa conference is crazy, and it absolutely is. The Lions have shown nothing of this kind of play for the past couple of weeks. They gave a massive lead to the Rebels. Remember, they managed to come back in that one. They gave a massive lead to the Sharks and just kept on giving up more of a lead. They also lost to the Brumbies last weekend. Here's a side that hasn't been showing this kind of form, and suddenly, bang, it clicks, and they do it. They actually dominated the possession and territory, but they were less incisive with their runs. If we look at it, the Lions, 129 runs for 361 metres. Whereas you've got the Chiefs, 123 runs, 501 metres. So you can see they made a lot more ground with their runs. And you can see that with the clean breaks. 9 clean breaks for the Chiefs, 4 for the Lions. That scrum dominance really did help tonight. A couple of penalties came from that, and it also gave them territory, as I was saying. And in the end, the Chiefs didn't help themselves. 7 knock-ons, leading to 7 scrums for the Lions. Actually, maybe it was 6, and also maybe 6 knock-ons and a not straight line out. Either way, 7 scrums for the Lions, 6 themselves, 2 of which they lost because they were, as I say, the Lions were so dominant in that phase of the play. An area that was much improved for the Lions, for the Chiefs tonight, was their lineouts. Obviously missing Harris, but his lineout throwing has been pretty poor. But tonight they won 11 out of their 12 lineouts. The Lions won 10 out of 12 of theirs. But it was those penalties we talked about. Chiefs gave 8 penalties, as I said earlier, 4 of those at scrum time, half of them. The Lions gave up 6 penalties. And that really is the area. I mean, I say the Lions really dominated that possession and territory in that first half. The Chiefs just couldn't. Even then, they ran more meters with ball. They were incisive, whereas the Lions were just looked after the ball better and were better with that, just with the possession that they had. Players that stand out, obviously Elton Yankees was running things very well with Lombard, and that combination, I say, in that first half worked really well. We didn't lose. We lost Lombard, I think it was early in the second half. Other players played well. Coetzee coming in from fullback, he was inserting himself well in this game. Marks, Whiteley, Smith, Quagga Smith, all three Lions in that scrum. In that scrum, two of which had just come back from injury, all were very big. And then Schumann, that came on for Quagga Smith, got some key turnovers at the end of that game. Lewis and Brink also got through an awful lot of tackling for the Lions. On the Chiefs side, we saw that Debrasini, unfortunately, we lost. A bit of a mixed bag from him for me early on, or in that first half, with some of his choices around the kicking. Antonette Brown, obviously very busy around the park, but didn't really sort of make the breaks. Sean Wainui and Mukikola on the other side, both wingers, got through a lot of running with the ball in hand. Nankerville tried a lot, but didn't really get that far. But he did hustle for that last try, which was very good. I thought Marty McKenzie had a decent game running the show, and obviously Brad Webber with that break was always a danger. In the forwards, Jacobson, he put himself around a lot, both on attack and defence. Also CO as well. Both of those guys were very prominent in this game, with lots of energy. All the backs got through, and Jacobson 19 tackles, just missed the one. Plus there were those carries. Boshier with 15, CO 12. Brown and Ardron with 11 and 10. So that back five, in fact, all the pack got through a lot of tackles as well. Tuava Matua and also Paul Watts, who had a mix. His throwing was good. He had a couple of breaks, but unfortunately his hands let him down a couple of times, dropping the ball. But when you see the fact that all of the starting pack, apart from one, made 10 or more tackles, it tells you there was a lot of traffic, a lot of one-out balls being played by the Lions. Their forwards got through a chunk of work trying to grind down this Chiefs pack. That didn't happen, but what it did mean was they could go through phases, that they kept control of the ball in that first half, and as I say, and really dominated the possession and the territory very, very well. And when we see that, we don't really see it in the stats very much. It just was going out one out so much. The Lions also kicked for the Lions. Probably got themselves stuck in that second half into kicking the ball away too much. They did 28 kicks from hand, whereas in the first half, it was, especially initially, it was very much keep it in hand, play with it. But then we had Elton Yankees trying a bit too much, perhaps some of these crossfield kicks not coming off. And they did in that second half have to get themselves stuck in their own territory quite a bit as well. So congratulations to the Lions, fantastic win, really, really, really what they need. As Christopher points out in the chat, 5 points from first to bottom in that Africa conference. It really is kind of crazy. So the Lions picking up 4 points tonight, could see them jump quite a long way up, depending on how the other results go from the South African teams and also the Jaguares as well, the teams in the Africa conference. It's going to be interesting because, say, you really don't know what team is going to turn up from all of them. Really, we've seen some very good performances and we've some pretty poor ones as well. Tonight was one of those very good performances by the Lions. Congratulations, they're back in it. Are they the side that they've been for the past few years when they made the final? Probably, or definitely, they're not the consistent side they are of that. But tonight they showed that they have still got class in there, and when they get most of their players back and available, in Whiteley, in Marks, in Quagga Smith, and getting the Elton Yankees on, you can see they do have class players there. They can put in good performances. But when they lose those guys, when they lose a couple to injury, like Quagga Smith and Warren Whiteley have been, you've got to say that then they do kind of struggle. It's a pretty thin squad that the Lions have, and that's probably what's leading to some of this inconsistency we're seeing with some of the South African teams. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me. Cracking game. Next up, we have the Sunwolves versus the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes minus Geordie and Bowden Barrett and Artie Surveyor, sorry, missing from the Hurricanes. So, hey, can the Sunwolves cause an upset there? That's the next game that is up.